before I say something silly online. Oh, it just did.
Oh, no.
Okay. I think we're live.
Yeah, I believe we are.
Yeah.
Welcome to episode number 63 of the Canadian Prepper Podcast. We're recording on April the 12th, 2020. My name's Eric. I'm the host of the show. I'm based in Southern Ontario. I'm a hunter, target shooter, ham radio operator, and computer geek. As a first responder, I've witnessed an over-reliance on emergency services during major events. I started a small preparedness company to help people get better prepared and be able to look after themselves for at least 72 hours, if not longer.
My name is Ian, and I live on Vancouver Island. I'm an outdoor enthusiast, sport shooter, and my farm's designated handyman.
And I'm on mute. I'm Alan. I'm a safety trainer, first responder, security expert, and overall safety nerd.
I'm Colin Saunders, and I'm from Pembroke, 21-plus year veteran, and a field officer with the CCFR.
Sorry, me again. And if you want to help support the show and keep the Canadian Prepper Podcast on the air, please buy a Canadian Prepper Podcast t-shirt at www.rapidsurvival.com. All proceeds go to help keep the lights on and the backup generator fueled.
All right, if you're enjoying the show, please take a few minutes and like us on Facebook and submit a review on iTunes. Also, we want your feedback, good or bad, or if there's just a topic you want us to cover. You can email us at feedback@prepperpodcast.ca.
The inbox is getting quite lonely. It's pretty empty the last little while. And everybody's locked in their homes, so you can email us. It's okay. We've got some time-killing content for you in this episode. We're going to start off with some preparedness news, and then we're going to get into what we've done lately for our own preparedness. So let's move into some news.
I only put one in today. It's a CNN article that we've seen a lot of tornado weather in the south, Mississippi, Louisiana. Massive devastation is what they're calling it. But it's just a reminder that regular emergencies are still happening. And while we have this one big overwhelming problem, we've got a lot of other problems coming down the pipe as well. So especially if you're in a place where spring thaw is an issue, it's coming if it hasn't already hit you.
Yeah, I mean, just like this is a long weekend, and I'm sure on long weekends, lots of accidents happen on the highways, even with or without lockdowns. So
I'm sure there are. Yep.
Yeah. Yep. All right. So for my news, I forgot to mention this last week, actually. But yeah, one of the things I've noticed different in the last little while is just before they shut down all the ranges here in BC, I was at the local range, and I got cornered by a guy as I was trying to go to my vehicle, and he was really kind of antsy and frantic and wanted to get, a gun. But he get his gun license, is what I told him he should get first. and he was like, "Oh, so that's take like a weekend, right?" And I was like, "No, that's like a 6-month process." And it was actually, I think, kind of surprising to him how difficult it was to actually get a gun. And I was like, "Well, what do you want that one for?" And he didn't want to answer, and it's very interesting. But what I'm getting to is the window was closed for that. So I think a lot of people are going to discover how restrictive our gun laws are. And I put a link into the news article, which shows that they are no longer issuing firearms licenses as long as we are all in lockdown.
Yep.
So interesting. Yeah. So I mean, you can still do restricted transfers between people, and I think stores can still sell you stuff. But if you don't have a license, you're out of luck.
And even the transfer, you're hurry up and waiting longer than usual.
Oh, I would think it's a month easy. Yeah, I'm still waiting on one myself. So.
Yep.
Anyway, second news article. Just in case you don't feel like or in case you feel like you've accomplished a lot, just keep in mind that he was in quarantine. Shakespeare decided to write, let's see here, King Lear, Macbeth, and Antony and Cleopatra. So
yeah, but what have you done lately? You know?
Yeah, exactly. So
and we've set aside about 4 pages for what we've done lately for preps, Ian. So
it's good. Yeah. That's good. It should be enough. Last one. So Alberta, in a grandiose gesture of generosity on their part, is donating $41 million worth of medical supplies to BC, Quebec, and Ontario. So talk about an abusive relationship, but after all that they've gone through with the oil patch and
yeah, but they just got their XL pipeline, like the Keystone pipeline. So
not without a fight though.
Yeah, but they got it.
Yeah. Anyway, so yeah, they're donating a bunch of shit when they still need it themselves.
I've got a valid comment in the live chat here saying just get a crossbow.
Yep.
Yeah.
Alternate means. Yep.
Should I mention that?
Excellent tool.
Should I mention the news we talked about earlier, Eric?
If you want, sure.
Okay, so apparently Justin Trudeau told us all to not go to the cottage, stay at home and suck it up. Well, if you go on to Sophie Trudeau's Instagram, you'll see that Justin Trudeau crossed provinces, went to the cottage, and hung out with the family. And, pretty interesting.
Yeah, that's gotta love social media for blowing the whistle on people.
Well, don't do
Well,
it.
Justin Trudeau didn't post it, but his wife did. So
Yeah. Oopsie.
Big case of do what I say, not what I do.
Yep.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
Anyway.
I just shake my head at that.
Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah. But, I went looking for news articles and all I could find was Corona and Corona, COVID-19, stay indoors. So I didn't put any news articles in this week because it's the same stuff over and over and over, unfortunately.
Yeah, a little repetitive right now.
Yeah, just slightly. Oh, there's a shooting in Toronto. No, Brampton the other night. And then COVID-19 again.
Well, that's also repetitive, though.
Yeah, but not as repetitive as COVID-19 has been the last little while in the news. But I understand as to why it is.
Yeah.
But shall we move into what we've done lately for preps?
Sure.
Awesome. So, I believe we got a sponsor for that. Ellen. Oh, he might be gone.
his
Right,
his mic is muted. It looks like
it is. Yeah, he might be frozen out. But it's brought to us by Super Etsy Straps. You can check them out at superetsystraps.com. Apparently, it's some good gear and some worthwhile stuff to check out. So, check them out at superetsystraps.com. Alan does a way better job at that than I do, but there's my off-the-cuff reading. So for myself, as far as what I've done for preps this week, I ended up defrosting our big stand-up freezer in the basement. It does a lot of the storage for our longer-term items that we like to obviously freeze, but it was frozen right up along the bottom. So I've been meaning to do it for a while, so tore out all the insides of it too that I could get at and checked all the connections and everything, and verified Alan's gone. But checked all the connections inside to make sure everything was good. Looks like the connection for the thermostat that triggers the defrosting was had worked its way loose after many years of being down in the basement and getting shoved and moved around. So I'm thinking that's why it started freezing itself up. So got that reconnected, got it all defrosted, put back together, and it's cold again. So I did something right, and it's freezing food. So that was good. And while doing that, took the opportunity to inventory everything that was in there, cleaned it out because there was some stuff that I didn't realize was in there and had been in there for quite some time. So it is no longer in the freezer. Found a mouse nest in a lawn tractor, which I'm sure you guys in the panel saw that I threw in the little WhatsApp group we've got. So a mouse decided to make a little house out of my lawn tractor over the winter. So got that all cleaned out, changed the oil, greased everything. Troubleshot a rough start that I had near the end of the season last year with it. Found that the spark plugs just worked themselves a little bit loose, so retightened them back down, and now she fires up one crank and she's mouse free. So that's all. That's good, and that's kind of my list for the last couple of days.
All right. Well, for myself, I guess I don't want to really talk too much now because then it won't give me anything to talk about later. So
I moved some of my list to later.
Yeah, but interestingly enough, so both myself and my wife went on another mini episode of Slamfire Radio, so that was kind of cool. She went on there to talk about nutrition, and I went on there to talk about various preparedness stuff. I think next week I'm going to go on there and talk about bug out bags. But
nice.
So we've had some good times on there. It's been good. They've been cranking out, I think, 3 episodes a week or something like that. So that's been good. And then other than that, I think we'll give the rest of it below. And as far as Alan, I guess Alan did some yard cleanup and not much else.
He's been just got back.
Oh, Colin, what do you?
Hi guys, not sure what's going on. Apparently, there's a storm coming in, so I may be in or out. It's this fantastic satellite internet that is spotty at the best of times, and that's the price I pay for living in the country. So no, I got most of the yard cleanup done, but we're still working in the house here, so it's there's not a huge amount of downtime still. Anyways,
awesome. Well, I had a kind of a busy week. So early in the week, I was expecting a package. Actually, the fantastic folks at Cross Industries was sending me a couple AR-15 magazines to torture test and try out. And I woke up that morning to an alert from Canada Post saying my package had been delivered. And I checked the time and realized it had been delivered to my doorstep half an hour ago. I went downstairs and it wasn't there. So I went to the post office only to realize after talking to my delivery driver that he actually did deliver it and someone lifted it. So actually, a few days later, I found out that one of the neighbors lost a package too. So keep in mind, folks, that people out there know that signature required items are not necessarily being signed for because of the COVID. So I went down to my Canada Post outlet and had a talk with them. And I was hoping to get a post office box that they'd give me for a few months to, to kind of mitigate this. And the post office guy, the delivery fellow said was, hey, I'll just card all your parcels and you can go pick it up at the local Giant Tiger. So that might be an option for some of you out there who are concerned about some of the parcels. You might be getting and thieves taking advantage of the COVID situation. So I also, upon recommendation from a friend, bought a couple wireless video cameras, and it's the slickest thing ever. It's the Blink XT2. You find them on Amazon. Amazing. I had the things set up in like 10 minutes, and I posted lots of pictures for the guys to see, and the resolution's amazing. My only thing about them is it uses an IR camera for nighttime. So there's so much adjustability in this security system. It is crazy, but I found that the IR is limited because it has to basically send out an IR light so you can see it. But so in terms of daytime, I had this one wireless camera actually out in my garden, probably 40 feet from the receiver, clear as a bell, no problems at all. But I found at nighttime it was a little bit grainy, so I just moved it in closer to my the entranceway I was trying to cover, and it was awesome. Great cameras, and you can add on as many cameras as you want onto the system, and it literally just took minutes. It was almost seamless to put it on. So other than security, I also did a lot of pruning around the yard, a lot of trees, raking leaves, and I've been trying to cook different things so I don't get bored of my own cooking. So I made a pizza dough, made some pizza with my son one night. We made different versions of bread, more pickling. Let's see what else. I put some red dots on a couple firearms that I own, and and got them bore sighted. So what else? Yeah, just stuff around the house, decluttering, starting to go through closets and drawers that I haven't gone through in a long time. Organize my spices. Nothing's worse than trying to cook and you're looking for the chili powder, and you think you have none, so you go out and buy more, only to find you had 2 containers of it already. So
Yeah.
That's my life in a nutshell. But I feel like I'm getting organized. My house has never been cleaner. It's awesome. I'm planning renovations that I for the future. I don't want to order online and go wait to pick it up. I also got seeds for the garden. I'm pretty excited about that this year. And also, I racked some wine, some Pinot Noir the other day, and put on some sugar, yeast, and water mix for my hand sanitizer that I'm making, and use it for other cleaning and stuff like that. Since how we're encouraged to stay home, not go out, I'm trying to do as much as I can for myself. So
that's a good point. Nice list.
So I'm just trying to think, like, if you had the Porch Pirates trying to attack your house regularly, if you'd like put some Horus electrical wire attached to a package, would that be considered like baiting?
Well, it's unlawful to put anything out there that could harm or damage someone, right? So I think what I'm going to do is I'm just going to talk to the neighbors. I'm going to talk to the OPP, see if we can set up a neighborhood watch, and also those cameras. The Amazon box that I had to pick up a Giant Tiger, I just filled it with some recycling, taped it up, and we're going to see if we can catch a mouse on Tuesday. I'm going to lean it up against the wall inside the sunroom, just like the delivery guy always does, and we'll see who takes the bait.
Nice. I like it.
Yeah, it's pretty low, that's for sure.
Those cameras have 2-way audio on them too, right?
They have 2-way audio. You can even set temperature alarms on it too, which is kind of interesting, because if you want to, I don't know, let's say you had some kind of industry where you wanted to, you could set a temperature alarm, and then if there's a potential fire, that could be another preventative measure,
That's awesome.
early detection, to check that out. It has cold and hot, and you can also see what the outside temperature is with it. And you can also, it has a readout of the camera temperature. Like the adjustability of these
Nice.
is endless. And it's an Amazon company.
Yep.
So, and they sell them on Amazon, and they're not that expensive. I'm really super impressed. I've had other cameras. I've had the Nest camera with like 40 feet of wire and a great big bowling ball that sticks to the super magnet. You drill into the wall, but now you got a cable you got to route all over the place. That's like so 1986. This system is awesome because the modem or the receiver unit is literally a little puck. Like it's smaller than my wallet. It's amazing. And it just plugs into the wall. And all you're really doing is you're taking that, you go into the app will ask you to register that device. You basically scan it with a QR code on your phone through the app. It automatically syncs up, recognizes it, then it asks you what Wi-Fi network you want. You choose your network, you put in the Wi-Fi password, boom, that's good to go. You go back into the app and you just add the cameras. And the cameras themselves have a QR code on the back. So once again, you just hold your scanner up to it. It sucks it right in there, and camera one setup. So literally 10 minutes, you'll have the system up and running, and it uses 2 AA batteries that have a 2-year lifespan on lithium metal AA batteries.
Oh.
Wow, that's a really long lifespan for the batteries.
Yeah.
Long lifespan. And like I say, one of my cameras, I torture tested. We had a windstorm and rain and everything, and I just set it on top of a fence post about 30 feet away from the house, and it was crystal clear. It was good.
Nice.
The only thing is, there's a little bit of a delay between when an action happens, because you can set up motion sensitive parameters for it. And I found there was about a 4 or 5 second delay. So if your internet's stronger than mine, like I live in Pembroke, so I have like the Fred Flintstone setup, but it's still worked not bad. But if you have high speed internet, I couldn't imagine it would probably be instant. It's great. Love these cameras. They're awesome.
Awesome. I'm gonna have to check them out. I'll add them to my my security setup here, perhaps. Let's actually move into the main topic.
All right, so I guess that's me right off the bat. So I guess
Just chat as usual.
Yeah, it's time for story time. So let's see here. Back in the day when I first took over the acreage here, I got one of those Canadian Tire tube sheds that come with yellow tarps. Yep. And so what happened was, due to my lack of arborist skills when I first moved here, I managed to put a tree through the roof of it. And so in the interim, I put a nice green tarp sitting over top of it, trying to keep the rain out. But with the rain coming down in the order of about 4 feet a year of rain, didn't take long for that tarp to get worn out. So I put another tarp and another one. And so finally I said enough is enough. So to kill time, right off the bat, I tore that old tarp off. I put some wood frames up to keep the snow off, and did like heavy duty tarp over one of the tube sheds here. And a guy gave me another tube shed. It was like 25 feet long, I think. He gave me 2 sets of them. So I had enough for 2 of these big sheds. And so I built both now. One I've tarped that one up, and then the second one I just built. I just haven't quite tarped it up yet. But time killing, like I think Colin, you mentioned it before, like, if you're going to be sitting there in your house, you want to thrive, not just survive, right? So
that's right. Yeah,
a lot of the stuff's been sitting there niggling me for years on end because I haven't gotten it done. So I thought, well, I made a bucket list of things. If I had like a month to kill, what would I like to take care of? So the tube shed was number 1. So I was like, oh, so now when I drive by it and see the pile of tubes, instead of getting angry or the big hole in the tarp, I'm actually like feeling, oh, I got that done. This is fantastic. So it's kind of a positive feedback loop, I guess, more than anything else, right? And so moving on with the farm buildings, I had the house for the alpacas, as we call it, the alpaca casa. It's had so much leftover hay on the bottom of it that the bottom started bulging out and actually started bursting boards. So took the time to clean that out and then redo some boards and get that all fixed up, and so it doesn't look like it's falling apart anymore. And please stop me when you have questions here. So interestingly enough, we have a huge increase of interest in farm products nowadays. So lo and behold, hatching eggs. We've had a couple dozen of those go out the door. And actually another dozen's about to go out the door here probably next week as soon as he gets his incubator, one of the local guys here.
Nice.
So I spent a little while talking incubators with a couple people, and because it's a bit of an art to get that done. Like you don't have chickens that will actually hatch them for you. To run an incubator, you might be get a 50% hatch rate if you're lucky, whereas chickens will do like an 80% hatch rate, on a good day. So yeah, lots of hatching eggs going out the door as well as food eggs, and interested in chickens in general. I think I'm sure our old chicken episode will get a lot more traction right about now.
Oh yeah.
Let's see here, splitting wood. So I chopped all that stuff up in the chop saw a couple weeks ago. I split a lot of that little tiny stuff into two for kindling. I had a bunch of logs around the acres. It was deadfall, so I basically bucked all those up into 16-inch lengths, split them in the splitter as well. And then on one of my morning walks, I noticed that one of the big hardwood trees had actually dumped itself right in between myself and my neighbor's house. And so I just messaged the neighbor that, don't worry, I'll take care of it, because he goes for a daily bike ride up there too. So I bucked up the hardwood and took advantage of my free child labor. So I put the two daughters to work hiking up and down the hill. It's about 300 yards up and down a steep incline, and they can go get a piece of it, a couple times a day, and eventually we'll get the whole tree down. Because child labor.
Well, that's why you have them, right?
That's right. Well, what else are they here for? So, but they're not going. They're not going to school, right? And so I got to keep them busy, because part of staying sane when you're locked into the house. At least we're lucky we have acreages to play, like a few acres to play with, but not everybody does. But it's a mental game, right? If you want to keep busy. So although they groan about it, and one is still working, but you got to keep everybody busy and occupied with the task, or else they're going to get bored and mad and lash out and stuff like that. And you don't want to have everybody tear each other apart while you're stuck in a house. So put them to work, not a bad idea. And see here, for myself, every morning do my 5K hike with the puppy dogs. But right now I get to go for an armed hike in the woods because it's bear and cougar season. So that's handy. And my tag,
smart way to do it.
Yeah, my tags showed up basically the 1st of April. They became active. So that's been good, but no sign of anything yet. But we are allowed to use, actually have dogs in the vicinity when you're hunting bear and cougar. So there's nothing untowards there. Let's see here. I've had a couple people pop by. So the Island Mentor and the Traveling Prepper both stopped by. So that was good. Got to take the Traveling Prepper on a little hike through the woods there into the Crownland. So that was good. And I've been chauffeuring my one daughter to work because she's essential services by working at Tim Hortons. Figure that one.
That's very essential. No coffee, no work.
That's right. So she still has to go to work. Yep. Let's see here. I finished that generator trailer wheel issue I had. It turned out it was a valve stem, so I just had to change out the valve stem. Actually, sorry. The Mentor changed it out for me because I didn't have one. 10-cent part, and totally had me flattened for a while. So went to go on another brass run for the range, and the ranges are all closed in BC as of last week, which is too bad. So ironically enough, everybody wants to buy brass because everybody wants to start reloading. So my brass sales are up huge on CGN, and I almost got cleaned out, but I got enough for myself, which is good. Made a couple CGN deals. Decided to play arborist around the acreage again, knock down some deadfall, and buck up some more wood for next winter. And now we get to the most important part: who's cutting our hair?
That is a good question.
So hair cutters are all offline for the COVID thing. So I have a set of barber clippers here. I think I'm going to have to get the daughter to break out the number 2 clipper for me next week here, because that's I'm going to kill some time.
We're going to make that attempt tomorrow. My wife's going to try cutting my hair for me and see what happens. And then I told her just taking it down the number 2 like I used to do.
Yeah, I figure that's the easiest thing to do. And, the difference between a bad haircut and a good haircut is about a week. So
or a ball cap.
I guess that depends. Yeah, you see me take off my ball cap, right? It's funny because Tracy would FaceTime me at just random times because she misses me, and I have the Don King hair. It's just standing straight up, or it's in a mohawk because I flip sides when I sleep, and it just works out to be a perfect mohawk. I'm not planning it that way. It just happens. So, and she's looking at me like, "What is wrong with you?" Like, so well, I don't know. A hat fixes everything, right?
I wanted to shave mine down like last week, but she's like, "No, you shaved off the beard. Until that beard comes back, you don't get to shave your head." So I said, "But honey, the COVID." She's like, "I don't care. Wear a mask, like a bigger mask." And she says, "No, goatee has to come back." So anyway, once that comes back, I guess it grows here, it shrinks there.
Sure.
Well, there you go.
Got one comment in the live chat here. Someone's been busy. They started over 500 seeds and getting the gardens put in. It's impressive. It's a lot of seeds.
That's actually a really good point. you guys seen the articles down in Walmart of the U.S.? They will not
Yeah.
sell seeds to people because they said seeds are not essential
Not
items.
essential. Yeah.
And I'm like, this is the essential time to have seeds. Like, if you're going to start plunking them in the ground, you're supposed to do it now. And yet they're like refusing to sell people. Like, are they trying to starve them out or something? Or what's the deal?
Of
I thought
course,
that was
they're not going to make any money in their grocery stores if people are growing their own food, making their own bread, right?
Yeah.
What I did was I called my local nursery, and they're open year round. They have to be to maintain their plants. So I just called them, and they set up a website specifically because of COVID. So you can just kind of give them a random list of what you want, email it to them. They'll send you back the price. You can either pay by credit card or EMT and pick it up. So that's what I did. I went on the hunt and found all the seeds I needed. So
Okay, first of all, RJM05, I will not grow a monkey tail because I would like to have relations with my wife eventually. Like, can you imagine? Like, you guys know what a monkey tail is?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So you get that little loopy. No, I would just no. That would never happen.
If you see his comment prior to that, he's drank 6 white claws tonight. That's his preps for the evening.
That's where those ideas like monkey tails come from.
Absolutely.
But anyways, actually back to the seeds thing. So West Coast Seeds on Vancouver Island in Vancouver, they're actually out of Delta, BC, just south of Richmond. They have organic heirloom seeds. They do mail order, and so if anybody's having trouble getting seeds, I don't know what it's like. We've got a bunch of seedlings on the porch already, but yeah, if anybody's having trouble, that's a good mail order option.
And I got all of our seeds for the garden this year from William Dam Seeds. So if you go to damseeds.com, which is just a great domain to begin with, there was all mail order as well. They were a couple weeks back ordered, but they said 2 weeks, and they were here 2 weeks. So
yeah, Freya brings up a good point there to have to prepare for prices going up and food shortages. Good point, because last year we had that crappy spring where they had a little bit of a shortage and then knocked down the lead time of food supply. We've got a bunch of people in China that didn't plant rice for a couple months, which is a thing, and then also us, if we're going to be late getting our seeds in or having less people going to home garden, then you have a bigger reliance on factory farming, and that could lead to shortages indeed. I don't think we're going to starve, but I mean, it's...
Yeah, another good point from Evan here, just saying he's been saving seeds for years because of this. Smart move to save them and learn how to do that, and then you don't have to rely on a company to mail order them to you, right? You got your own. Well,
it's actually a bit of an art form to get your seeds going. Like, if you ever try to get seeds from carrots, it's like
I didn't. Yeah,
no. Yeah. Like the seeds are like this big to begin with. Like, they're like, oh man, crazy small. But also you got to dry the carrot. You got to figure out how to get them out. And I've never been successful at it. And when you buy the carrot seeds, they're almost like flakes of ash. They're so small.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is an art form. If you can figure out how to make your own seeds, that's a thing, right? Rather than buying the can.
And then you're not relying on anybody.
Nice.
Go ahead, Colin.
Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to. I was gonna kind of take it 90 degrees here. You talked about reloading earlier. And it's funny because so many people have contacted me about reloading, asking questions, looking for powders, projectiles. So I have a couple ideas on the matter if you guys are looking for projectiles, powder, primer, stuff like that, okay? So you got to think outside the box. There's a lot of small businesses out there. There's a store out by my area, and they are a gas station primarily, but they also sell firearms. That's a great place to order reloading components, because a lot of firearm stores are closed. Cabela's and Canadian Tire pull a lot of their ammo out of a lot of their stores. So, start thinking of the small businesses. Try and keep them going. I managed to find 7 pounds of Varget out in New Brunswick at a small shop out there. So I bought that up because I knew I needed it. And X Reload ordered a bunch of projectiles in. The stuff can still get to you by mail, so don't let it deter you or stop you or say, I'll reload after all this, because guess what? The supply chain is going to be behind for quite a while. It might take quite a while to get some stuff. And there's local shops out there that have 9mm, that have tons of shotgun ammo, and it's a little tough getting some 223 reloading components, but they're out there too because I found them. So
I was actually I thought you were going to go with the lead thing, because there's lots of YouTube videos out there about casting your own bullets, and you cast them, powder coat them, And I think as long as you're not shooting them in a Glock, you're okay. But there's lots of sources for lead still. I mean, between used car batteries, dental film, wheel weights, a bunch of other things, you can actually be fairly successful, like at casting your own bullets, as long as you like don't breathe lead fumes on a regular basis and do it all outside. But it's certainly a summertime adventure. You can get that done. That's something to think about. I've never done it myself, but I'm thinking of it.
You have to be careful too, because not all like a lot of guys collect wheel weights, for example, and a lot of wheel weights now are not lead.
Yeah, well, plus it has to be that 2% antimony or whatever, right? So you have to make sure you get the right breakdown of lead versus antimony. Antimony? I don't know how you pronounce that.
There's a hardness tester
that
you can test your different alloys with and stuff like that. So for myself, I like to do a lot of high volume loading. I load thousands of rounds all the time. So I don't necessarily have time to cast bullets that you can buy them cheap enough. You know, what's a 1,000 9mm I could probably get for $95. You know, I still have a few thousand that need to be loaded, and I have a few thousand loaded somewhere in the middle, just with 9mm. But you know, it's if you're into reloading, when you see the components you like, buy as much of it as you can, because you know we go through dry spells and it's hard. Like the supply chain is not as steady with reloading components. So when you see something you like, you know, grab it and hang on to it. And even if sometimes you don't need it, it's a good trading item with your buddies.
Well, not only that, but you bring up a really good point there, Colin, because I mean, the U.S. is the primary manufacturing spot for a lot of these components, and they're always going to supply the domestic market before they start exporting it to us Canucks, right? So,
of course,
if they've got a rush on it right now in the States, you can guarantee our supply is going to be cut off for a lot longer than theirs.
Yeah. Well, remember the shortage on 22 ammo a couple years ago? Also during the Gulf War. During the Gulf War, the border closed, and they basically, not the border itself, but the supply chain. And they said, you know what, America first, we need to supply our soldiers. And I get that. It makes sense to me. But you know what, if you're going to reload, stock up. And it gives you something to do all winter. You could make your summer supply. And when you get down to about burning through half your supply, it's time to start looking for new powder, primers, projectiles.
It's also something to do during the lockdown.
That's what I've spent a lot of my time doing, processing brass.
Yep.
The tedious stuff that you've been putting off, right? Like you said, processing brass is the big one. A lot of guys put off like the trimming and the resizing and everything else because it's not exciting. You know? Especially if you like swage primer pockets out and stuff like that. Yeah, it's best to, if you're bored out of your skull, instead of watching Netflix for 6 hours, you can like listen to podcasts and do brass prep.
We've got a comment in the live chat here as well. Another way to kind of manage your time or fill your time during this is having the government tell you that you're an essential service during COVID.
Don't get me started.
Just working along.
Yeah.
And then they finish that off with a new comment saying, well, it's like the government saying that, or COVID is like a stripper telling you you're their favorite.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd rather enjoy that, Boston. Thank you.
So wait a minute. If the traffic's gotten better because all the non-essential people are staying home and only the essential people are on the road, does that mean the traffic snarls are caused by non-essential people?
You just broke the internet.
Oh, yeah.
That's like Googling Google.
Yeah.
Don't do that.
You know what a Google is?
Yeah.
Do you know what a Google is?
Yeah, it's a one with 100 zeros.
That's right. It's the largest named number. It is exactly that, 1 with 100 zeros. So
yes. Yeah. So unfortunately, I think when my daughters declared essential services by working at Tim Hortons, you know, it's not really a thing. It just so happens that the mayor also owns that Tim Hortons in the local town. So I mean, there could be maybe something to do with that. But
there's no conflict of interest there, is there?
Yeah.
Hey, listen, Ian, being a veteran, I can tell you the Canadian Army runs on Tim Hortons. So
well, didn't they have one at Kandahar too?
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought so. There's a Tim Hortons branch at Kandahar base. It's like, wow, that's hardcore.
Well, like I said, no coffee, no worky.
Yeah.
Doesn't happen.
But you know what? That doesn't even compare because when you go to any American base, it doesn't matter where it is in the world. They got Burger King and they have it all. It's like, you know.
Nice.
Canada goes Tim Hortons, and we're so thankful. Tim Hortons.
Yeah.
Geez. Well, to get back on track here as far as managing the access time for myself, I'm working away as usual. I'm one of those essential services apparently, so plugging away, doing my thing, trying to work a little bit from home here and there if I can, but for the most part, I'm in the office still. But however, have had a stretch of 5 days off here, so I don't go back to work till Wednesday. So I'm taking advantage of that. And really, I was going to add this to what I've done lately for preps, but I figured I'd dump it into the main show part. So, clean up the backyard, which I figure pretty much everybody and who's doing the whole self-isolation thing right now is done. They've probably cleaned their front yard, their backyard, gone back to clean their backyard, gone back to clean their front yard, and then repeated 4 or 5 other times. They've actually increased the curbside pickup for yard waste here. They bumped it ahead a couple of weeks because people were going to the dump with all the yard waste, even though the dumps are closed for only essential purposes at the moment. There were still lineups of people bringing all the yard waste to the dump, so they pushed it ahead. And I think last count we were at about 15 or 20 bags. And I kind of looked at it and said, so we're getting rid of all of this when we could just put it in a big compost bucket and turn it into compost for the gardens. So it was kind of a bit of a wake up for myself and my wife to look at it and say, you know what? Okay, let's we're going to take advantage of this instead of letting the township take advantage of it. And they resell all the compost back out of the dump. So like, you know what? Yeah. So we're going to set that up. But so that's one way we're killing time, is putting that plan together. Added a bunch of ammo to the inventory, so it was a little happy dance there. I ordered a bunch of steel jacketed ammo and ended up with brass instead, so free upgrade. So I'll take that. So I'm one of those people that was poking at you guys asking about reloading, because now I have lots of brass.
Well, and yeah, I was going to say, keep it, even if you don't plan on reloading. Like that goes for everybody, because at the very least, sooner or later, that's going to be a component people are going to be buying. So right now, you can only sell 9 for about 3 cents a piece if you're lucky, and then. But you watch, within a year, it'll be like 5-10 cents a piece, and it's like returning bottles to the bottle depot.
Yeah.
A quick question for you. So with the backyard and front yard cleanup there, are you guys going to try and do like the hugelkultur thing and kind of just let like rot underneath what you're growing, or what are you going to do?
We're probably going to get like one of those compost bins you can get at like Home Depot or wherever, and toss it in there and let it do its thing over the next year or two, and then just kind of mix it around every once in a while and wait for it to turn in the dirt. Unless I've researched it wrong, but
no, I mean, there's actually a Lee Valley Tools has a little bracket you can buy and just put 2x4s on the side, or 2x6s anyway, and basically piles them up, and you can like scoop out of the sides as well as it starts to rot down. That's kind of a neat thing.
Oh, there's an idea. Yeah, I'll look into that.
I'll throw the link in the show notes afterwards.
Perfect. Yeah, we're still in the planning stage, so.
Have you guys considered sorry?
No, go ahead.
I was going to say, have you considered a worm farm?
I've seen those, yeah.
For worm castings, you can make them yourself.
Yeah.
And there's a specific kind of earthworm that you can get. A friend of mine was the first person to have one. It was just a stack of Tupperware bins, and in the bottoms there was holes. So it would start at the top, but it would end up draining at the bottom, and he just threw his table scraps in there. No meat or anything, but just potato peels, newspaper, all that stuff, and threw the worms in there. And eventually, all the worm castings end up in the very bottom pail, and it's very concentrated. You can water it down and use it as a foliar spray, or you can use it directly in soil. It's fantastic for gardens.
Nice. Yeah, I think that's is that the red wigglers or whatever you buy? There's a certain type of worm or some sort of.
There's a specific name. I can't remember the name off the top of my head. I'll try and find out. But that's one thing. I've started composting again. It's easy to be lazy and just go buy dirt from the store and horse manure and stuff. But now I've just kind of treated this as though it's like a challenge for me. I'm going to grow a garden. I'm going to be as self-sufficient as possible. I'm going to pickle a bunch of stuff this year. And, just for my own sense of things, I'll feel better. I've also been looking for a pressure canner too. You can can meat, and it keeps meat out of your freezer that way. You can put it on the shelf.
Yeah,
no, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, the way I look at this is kind of a gift for a lot of people that normally can't get away from work, like myself. Like, I mean, while I am technically an essential service as well, I mean, they've been dropping my shifts like flies, and I'm kind of on call for the odd reassignment, but for the most part, I'm just staying home. I I can't get this normally, and so like I'm thrilled. Like I must be the only guy that wants to self-isolate out there. I don't know, but and so yeah, making use of the time, and like anybody that kind of throws away this gift of time, it's almost like practice retirement. Like it's what you can look forward to when you actually get paid to stay at home when you're retired. But yeah, there's something to be said about that. I mean, like it's awesome. So anyway, good point about the pressure canner they're calling and learning how to do stuff like that. Like that's a fantastic time to learn, right?
Absolutely. And there's lots of YouTube videos on all this stuff. Like I didn't just invent a bread recipe out of my head. I went and seen I don't know, Julia Childs or whoever it does, and it has the most views, or I check out a few videos and say, oh, that seems like something I can follow or something I can get into, and I'll try it. And I've been quite pleased at a lot of the results I've had making like I call it my pandemic bread. There's like a no knead bread recipe, and it's turned out great for me every time. I've done pizza dough. I used to work at Pizza Hut for a number of years, so I made pizza dough. We had pizza. I mean, there's so many different ways you can slice it, so to speak, right? Yeah, but it just trying to keep busy for me. A big part of staying busy is maintaining a bit of a routine, but also picking projects that inspire you. Like gardening, like cutting down that tree that's always been, that grew up right next to your garage, and you say, I'll do it tomorrow. It's been a blessing, but honestly, a lot of people now are understanding what a veteran goes through when they get medically released. The circle of friends goes to basically zero. They're wondering where their next paycheck's going to come from, and they're trying to figure out their purpose in life all of a sudden. So there's a lot of commonalities there. So the mental game is so important to try and find purpose, maintain a routine, and to do things that inspire you. That's the name of the game of survival, because if you let yourself go to a negative mindset, it's very easy for it to take over. So you have to fight that. Find purpose for yourself first thing in the morning. That's what I do, before someone else decides it for you.
There's a lot of truth in what you just said there, Colin. That was like the truth bomb of the highest order. So that's awesome. Like, and that's a good point. Like, I mean, I'm lucky because I have it built in. Like, I have to get up, open the chickens, walk the dogs, everything else, feed the alpaca. So I have to get up at a certain time, usually at sunrise. Because if not, I'm sure I'd sleep until 11 and be like, what now? I don't know, Netflix. Okay, Xbox. And so, it's huge. And I think you find out who your friends are and who you keep contact with and everything else. There's a lot to be said about that, right?
We've got a good comment in the live chat here too from Infamous E that says, "Don't forget about your fitness with time off." So many people are using COVID as an excuse to be lazy. It's not the time to be lazy about your fitness. So don't forget about that. That's a good point.
Very true, and especially because I think we can all say quite easily that we're all eating quite well sitting at home, aren't we?
Yep.
And not only that, if we're going to survive a potential respiratory illness, why wouldn't we try and work on our cardiovascular health by eating healthy, by maintaining a lot of physical training, which is also one of the biggest stress relievers out there.
Absolutely,
physical training, right? So it puts you in a good mindset. I know my son, if I let him just play Xbox or PlayStation all day, he will. He'll probably choose that over food, water, and everything else. But I mean, so it's good that I have my son, because it forces me to kind of keep him in a routine, which also keeps me in a routine.
Well, and think about your lung efficiency when you start exercising regularly. It's not like you're, you get exhausted by going up a set of stairs, right?
Well, there's benefits all around.
Yeah. Quick question. So dehydrating, how long can dehydrated food be kept for? It's not just a function of dehydrating, it's a function of oxygen exposure as well. So if you dehydrate your food very well and you get rid of most of the moisture and air, or moisture and oxygen, should I say, is what kills it. So get an airtight container, get a desiccant pack in there, an O2 absorber, and it'll probably be like 25 years if you keep it airtight enough. But all depends how much effort you put into it.
If you look up a pemmican recipe, pemmican can be good for like 20 years in the freezer. And some of the first settlers in Canada traveled with pemmican because it traveled well. It didn't need to be refrigerated. And it's super easy to make.
Yeah, actually, I've got a good recipe. If anybody emails me, I can send it to them. It's basically you just have to like render the fat, dry the meat, and then if you add berries, it's going to last less, not as long. But if it's just meat and fat, it lasts a long time.
But if you add dried berries, it does.
Yeah, dry. They have to be really dry though. We actually
Yeah.
put some in some plastic sealed containers, and year no problem. But yeah, I think it would have been better if it was in the freezer. Of course, we just left it on the shelf though.
We've got one comment from Bane Ironhand just saying he's currently eating an apple he dried 2 years ago. After 3 or so, they get old. Keep them in the dark and oxygen free.
And actually, it's kind of funny because somebody was asking about glassing eggs. Remember we talking about that
Yep.
about 6-7 months ago, and I glassed some
Yep.
eggs. They're still in the closet. I totally forgot about them. So I think we'll have to pull those out and see if we can I'll daringly open up a few of the eggs and see how they
Yeah.
are. But I mean, I'm sure they're fine. But
Sure,
in the
yeah.
very very worst case, we have dog food. But yeah, like it's amazing how long food will keep as long as you just leave it alone and leave it in the dark.
Yeah. Well, they don't stink yet, right? You forgot about them. So
I would have known if they were stinking
Yep.
for sure. Man.
I did some eggs too. In fact, I never heard of pickled radishes, so I just kind of invented that one on my own. I just pickled some radishes. I'll let you know how they turn out. And
yeah.
of course, some pickled beans, some hot, spicy pickled beans, because they make the best Caesars.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Well, just think when you go to the Lebanese store in Ottawa there, and you go to get your falafel plater, like what do you call it, your shish taouk or whatever, you get the pickled turnip.
Yep.
That's the purple one. That stuff's delicious and lasts forever as well, right? Like salty, kind of sweet business, and yeah, they sell those by the jar full too. So I mean, it's certainly something you can do yourself.
Yeah. There's all kinds of skills and things that you can either fine tune or learn during this this whole self isolation thing, and why not take advantage of it?
No doubt. And not only that, we all know because the economy is suffering, we know ahead of time they're going to drop the interest rates. People are going to start buying homes. So if you're a guy like me that's been thinking of selling your home for a long time, now is probably a great time to get all those renos done when you have all this time. So that further down the road, when it's time to list, boom, you got the flooring done, you got the eaves trough done, you splashed some fresh paint on there, you cleaned up the yard. That was kind of a big part of my motivation for getting things done, as well as, getting the garden in, right?
Yep.
Yeah, that's part of the thing we were trying to do too. We were like debating a sale here, and so I was trying to take care of a bunch of stuff. And yeah, time wasn't allowing me to get a lot of it done, but hey, it's all good now.
Yep.
So, Jason brought up a good point. Yeah, pickle some carrots. Got to grow them first.
Yeah, I love pickled carrots, and not only that, but you can grow carrots, but they're really inexpensive to buy at the store, so they're a great pickling item.
Yep.
Right.
Just gonna have to try this now. Radishes and pickles.
And I found a resource on YouTube, and there's a guy, he did urban gardening, and then it just blew up and it went crazy. And this guy is a wealth of knowledge. He talks about, let's say, growing potatoes in buckets. Now, I was going to do it myself, just thinking I'd throw half a dozen potatoes in a bucket, just like you'd plant any seed. But this guy has it down to a science. I mean, like a science. He knows, he's tried it so many different ways. He puts 5 big holes in the bottom of his pail, puts 4 inches of dirt, puts 2 potatoes in there, just 2, and then 10 inches of dirt. And he was explaining why not 12 inches? Why not 16 inches of dirt? Why not more potatoes? He explains it, and it really made sense. So I was very happy to kind of bump into that, and I'll find out what it is. Maybe other people are interested in having a look, because he grows other things that I might not normally grow, but I might be interested in growing. So getting that advanced knowledge from someone else, we don't live in the dark ages anymore. We have YouTube, and you can basically teach yourself anything. So I'm challenging myself to do things I wouldn't normally do in terms of gardening. So
that's the fun part too. See how it turns out, and it turns out great, and do it again. If it doesn't, well, next season try something else.
And you know what? The big thing is a lot of people procrastinate. I know I have in the past. But here's a little trick I'll tell you about procrastination. I've tried it, and it works really well. Let's say there's a task you haven't been really wanting to do. Let's say it's splitting wood. I tell myself, I'll say, okay, I am going to split wood for 10 minutes. And if at the end of 10 minutes, I don't feel like it, I'll give myself permission to stop and be guilt-free about it, because I've made that choice ahead of time. But you know what? 95% of the time, I'll get out there, I'll start splitting wood, and after 10 minutes, I just can't stop myself. I just keep going, because you've changed your mental attitude. And like I say, survival is probably 90% mental attitude, right? And it's all about putting yourself in that right mind space. To think of it like hypothermia. You know, in the military, I've seen a lot of cold environments and places, and our natural tendency is just to kind of shut down mentally, shut down physically. But if you want to survive, you have to fight that, and you have to do what's unnatural to survive. So you keep in mind that sometimes your brain is going to play tricks on you, and you're going to want to shut down, or you're going to want to procrastinate, or whatever. You got to fight that.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's all about the mental game for sure.
Well, and you bring up a good point with the splitter too, because I'm the same way. It's like pulling at a thread on a sweater, right? Like once you start pulling that thread, and you start like, "Argh!" And so I got going on that pile of wood with the splitter, and yeah, you can't stop till the job's done now, which is good because then when you're done, now you're like, oh, that's one more thing off the list. Fantastic.
Yeah, and it wasn't nearly as bad as I thought it was going to be.
Yeah.
Oh
well,
that's all good points.
So I think that's pretty much it for me.
Yeah, really the big thing with the whole self-isolation thing right now is, try to find something that you've wanted to do for a while and plug away at it. Or if there's something you want to try that you haven't tried, give it a shot. You've got lots of time.
I try and think of it like a deployment, like when I was in the military.
Yeah.
And, from being on a couple of deployments overseas, you start to see a pattern. And that pattern is, you go through a stress point of all this training culminates to the point where you're going to leave. Leaving your family is very stressful for you and for them. But, after usually a couple weeks, you start to develop a routine. Things get easier. After a month, time just one day flows after the next. And before you know it, you're home. So you know what? If we just stay focused, pick new challenges, find things that inspire you. No one's ever lazy. We're just uninspired. So find things to inspire yourself and give her, like, what do you have to lose? At the very least, you're going to learn something.
Yep.
Right?
Exactly.
So.
Yeah, if anybody doesn't know where to start with something, feel free to email us because we'll probably have a good link to at least some way to get you going on some sort of subject matter if you're interested in it, for sure.
Oh, absolutely. It's definitely the resources there. So use it if you want to flip an email in. Absolutely do it. Should we move into the podcast challenge?
Sure thing. So for the podcast challenge, tell us how you made use of your time. Make it a goal to learn something or finish a project that's been neglected for too long. So we mentioned that bucket list of preparations. Let's get it done, guys.
Yep. Flip in an email to feedback@prepperpodcast.ca. Let us know what that project was, and we can talk about it on the next episode, and it might inspire another listener to do the same thing. And again, if you need any help or tips or pointers or something on a project you're trying to take on, flip an email in, and if we don't know, we'll put you in contact with somebody who does. We'll move into upcoming events.
All right, so we got the Podcaster Charity Shoot coming up here, hosted by Slamfire Radio. For now, it's still on, but it's planned for July 4th, 2020 in Balmoral, New Brunswick at the Rusty Goose Gun Club. This year's charity choice is the Rod Harquail Memorial Fund. You can reach them at the link in the show notes. Register on Practice Score to buy tickets at practicescore.com.
All right, we've got Emergency Preparedness Week coming up by May 3rd to 9th. I'm going to gather that they're going to be talking about COVID, but it's coming up, so be prepared for it. But
that's the current emergency. I mean, they probably just talk about general preparedness as usual anyway, because there's going to be another emergency coming up, before you know it, right? So, and like Alan mentioned, there's other things still going on. They don't stop earthquakes just because the COVID's happening, right?
No, definitely not.
So, and just because COVID's going on doesn't mean that you can't call the pharmacy and get that EpiPen for your kid before the mad rush happens, because sometimes there's shortages on EpiPens, right?
Yep.
Actually, I was listening to Casual Preppers the other day, another podcast, and they were laughing because here they are going with the COVID, and they had an earthquake in Salt Lake City, which is near where they live. So they ended up calling a panquake because they had both. And I was like, well, good point. Yeah. Anyway, survivethestorms.com. Looks like they've got a discount for us. Use the discount code CPP10 for a 10% discount off Survive the Storms. If you remember, we had him on earlier to discuss that. It's basically an online learning course on general preparedness.
Yeah, so they're starting back up, and he's offered us that 10% course, or 10% off. So thanks, Chris. We appreciate the discount code. And we've got TACCOM Canada 2020, September 11th to 13th, as long as this COVID thing blows over. The Canadian Pro Gun Man, I can't talk tonight. The Canadian Pro Gun Podcasters Network will be in attendance at TACCOM 2020. Oh, that was a mouthful. Your favorite podcasters will be on hand throughout the show, so make sure you stop by the booth to meet your favorites and pick up some swag. You can see the details for the show and the ticket link at prepperpodcast.ca. And there's a little link on the right. And then if you buy your ticket through there, we get $1.
$4 so far.
Well, it helps to pay for the $650 internet.
That's right. Yeah, you'd be shocked what they charge for power and internet there. Yeah. Anyway, shoutouts.
Yeah, so I'll do a quick shout out to everybody watching live this evening. We're at 27 people currently, and it's kind of nice to see everybody in the chat is actually chatting amongst themselves, giving each other tips and helping out with gardens and composting and pretty much everything we're talking about tonight and a few other things. So just a quick shout out to everybody watching. Thanks for coming out, and thanks for helping each other out. It's nice to see.
All right, so I got one for the traveling prepper. Thanks for stopping by, and for the chat. It's always nice to exchange ideas back and forth while maintaining a good social distance of 2 meters or more. Also, the guys at Slamfire Radio. It's not their usual subject matter, but since the COVID thing started and they're sitting at home, they've kind of dedicated a mini episodes every week to preparedness, and it's been nice for them to use their huge audience base to actually reach more people and maybe get a few more people interested in actual preparedness and less reliance.
That's awesome.
Yeah, they've been doing a really good job, even when I'm not there. Colin, you got anybody?
Oh, yeah. I want to give a shout out to Corey, Mike, and Doug from Coat of Arms Television. They're doing wonderful things in the firearms community for sport shooters, hunters, and advocacy in the firearms world. They've jumped to the pump, so to speak, with a lot of projects that are going on right now, and you're going to see a lot of them come out soon. CCFR is Canada Downrange. Coat of Arms produced that season 2. It's like 10 times better than season 1, and it's on I believe it's on a cable network, so go check it out. And also they also have Coat of Arms coffee. I'm wearing one of their shirts here, and I have to tell you, like, I don't get anything for saying this. I just, as a personal thing, my buddies ask me about coffee, and they're like all about the Black Rifle coffee, and nothing wrong with that. I love it. But this Coat of Arms coffee, I don't know, it's got me hooked. I just can't get off it. It's good stuff. I love it.
Well, I'm gonna have to check it out.
Well, those guys have gone. They've gone from 0 to 100 in the last 5 years, man. They've been putting out so much content, and like, talk about a huge effort. I think Downrange TV is available on the CCFR website for season 1, right?
Yeah, season 1 is playing right now for everyone that's sitting at home, and you know, if next best thing, if you can't go to the range, you might as well watch a show like that where there's, you know, Black Rifles in Canada, and they're doing a lot of sporting events and shooting events. You might as well sit at home and kind of watch that, maybe while you're reloading or listening to Slamfire podcast.
Awesome. All right, so we'll move into email and iTunes reviews. So, like I mentioned at the beginning, the inbox has been empty. It's been a little sad. So, send some messages in.
Yeah, don't make your sad, Panda.
Yeah. Well, I'd like to have something to read at this section of the show. So, fire some stuff in. Feedback at prepperpodcast.ca. Good or bad, doesn't matter. We'll take it all. As far as iTunes goes, we are at 52 5 stars, 5 4 stars, 2 3 stars, 1 2 star, and that one little guy at 1 star keeping us honest. So,
all right, and actually, my dad's watching, so I guess I'll say, hey, Dad, can you figure out how to do a iTunes review? Give us a 5 star, and maybe tell everybody what a good kid I am, and then need an extra 5 star review. That'd be fantastic.
Just leave a review, a 5 star review that says Ian is a super kid.
Yeah, that's right.
That'd be great.
That would be extra mortifying for me. That'd be fantastic.
Maybe we'll get some bumper stickers that say that with our logo.
Ian's a swell guy.
Yeah. All right. Well, with that bumper sticker idea, I will bring episode number 63 of the Canadian Prepper Podcast to an end. You can find the podcast on iTunes, Podbean, Spotify, or your favorite podcast app. Please help us out. Submit a review. It helps other people find us.
All right, we record these shows live on Facebook and YouTube. If you want an early peek at the shows, please subscribe to the YouTube channel Canadian Prepper Podcast and click on the notifications tab. That gives you alerts when we're going live. You can contact Alan directly at PPSWO when he's on the air.
And Colin, where can everybody find you?
You can find me on Instagrams Saunders C39, I think, or no, CJ Saunders 11. Sorry, you'll also find me on Facebook. I have a public profile page, Colin Saunders / I think public profile. That's my veteran advocacy. I also have a personal page as well. Or you can find me on Colin at CanadianVets.org.
Perfect. All right, you can reach Ian directly by emailing me at theislandretreat@gmail.com. You can also find me on Canadian Patriot Podcast on iTunes and YouTube. That's on Monday nights at 9 p.m. Eastern. There you can find us discussing why government waste and society in general triggered my Tourette syndrome.
Oh, you changed it.
Oh, I did. Look at that.
So please check out Rapid Survival at rapidsurvival.com. You can get me there on the live chat while you're buying some prepper gear, or at least the last little bit that I have left. Thanks for joining us, and until next time, be prepared, stay safe,
and keep learning.